Good afternoon, everybody. This is Professor Hill, and this is a short video for our class, Introduction to Ethics, Philosophy 2306 here at St. Philip's College for the summer one term. Today is Tuesday the 15th, halfway through June and week 2 of our class. So it's June the 15th, 2021. And we had an assignment that was due Sunday night. Monday, I graded those, so you got your first grade on your first essay. So what I want to do now is I want to talk just a little bit quickly about the essays and then get into chapter 2. I want to talk a little bit about our text for chapter 2. The essays overall were very well done. Had one or two people that are still struggling with the process, but that's an easy thing to sort out. We can get that figured out. Okay. And most of them were very well, but here's the thing. I also had some students who posted their first essay and then went to read the others and comment on at least 2, as you're supposed to do. And they were like, wow, those are really good. So, yeah, there were some really good essays in there. And look, that's the thing about this, which is now that you've seen kind of the standard and look, there are some good papers. Use those as examples. Model your next one for Thursday night after the best ones you saw yesterday. So, yes, you want to improve. Yes, I tried to be a little lenient at the beginning. I understand it's the first essay. People are still trying to figure out, oh my God, is there a word count? Is there this? Because, they've had expectations laid on them by other teachers. My thing is, look at the best of the essays about Jenny Lake and use that as an example, because there were some really, really good ones in there. All right, so the chapter. I mentioned briefly before that there's something a little fishy going on with this chapter, and that is true. Okay, so our textbook, Doing Ethics by Louis Vaughn. If you don't have it yet, you need it. You're going to have it. By the way, you have to have it for the final exam. So it's not like you can somehow get through the course without it. You got to have it. Because also, you're supposed to be reading the chapter and then incorporating that into your essay. In fact, the people that lost a lot of points on the essays were people that did not incorporate it, the concepts, the definitions from chapter 1 into that. They didn't use that as a lens on the Jenny Lake case. You got to do that. So what we're doing right now is reading chapter 2 so that we can bring these concepts to bear on the question, which is now John the Paramedic, which is coming up Thursday night. So yesterday I posted the link to me talking about John the Paramedic. So if you haven't seen that yet, watch that. And then keep that in the back of your head as you're looking at these concepts in chapter 2. So what happens is, our book, Doing Ethics by Louis Vaughn, he names the chapter after 3 things: subjectivism, relativism, and emotivism. He then starts off the chapter by saying, let's talk about 4 things. And you're like, wait, hold on a minute. What's the 4th one? And the 4th one is objectivism, which he mentions just kind of briefly at the beginning. And then marches into a whole chapter about the 3 things: cultural relativism, subjective relativism, and emotivism. And so what happens is, he starts talking about these 3 things and about what's wrong with them. He's just tearing them down. He spends the whole chapter running these things into the ground because there's pros and cons for each of these things, but he's just giving you the cons. And in a very telltale sign, he gives you 1 sentence about objectivism in which he says, y'all, this is the true thing. This is the right one. This is the one you need to pay attention to. And that's all he says about it. Doesn't give you any of the cons, doesn't tear down anything. He just says objectivism is the right thing. In fact, Get this. Look at the beginning of the chapter. There's this little quick review box, right? And in this quick review box, a little summary, he lists all four. And the first one is objectivism, the view that some moral principles are valid for everybody. So there are rules, there are principles. Your job is to learn them and then apply them to, ethical situations. And then you get to the right answer. Follow the rules, the principles, spits out the right answer. He just gives the definition. Well, then for the next three things, like the next one, cultural relativism, he says, this is the view that one's action, something that you do, is morally right if your culture approves of it. The standard that makes something right or wrong is your society. But then he immediately, even in the summary, starts saying, this is why this one's wrong. So he starts tearing it down again, even in the little tiny summary box. And he does the same thing for subjective relativism, which is the belief that an action is right if you approve of it as an individual. You yourself are the standard of all morality. Good and bad, it's up to you as an individual. And then he talks about why that's kind of silly. And the point is that, again, not that he's not making a good point about the criticism of it. It's just that, unlike objectivism, he's now giving you the definition and then why it's wrong. Same thing with emotivism. Emotivism is just that there is no right and wrong. There is no morality. There is no good and bad. And in fact, when people talk about it, they're just yakking about their feelings and emotions, which is where the name comes from. Make sure you're clear that it's not like that the standard is your emotions. That's not what we're saying here. It's not somebody who is very emotional and acts and makes decisions based on their emotions. No, 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 no. This is just the person that doesn't believe there is a right and wrong. Asked to, do you understand the difference between right and wrong? The response is, there is no right and wrong. I can't do anything wrong because there is nothing wrong. Now, that might strike you as somebody who has got, mental problems. But again, just the point I'm trying to make here is that in chapter 2, Lewis Vaughn says it gives it the title about three things and spends the whole chapter talking about three things. But what he's doing is running them down, running them into the ground, and telling you why they are terrible ideas, so that he can then say, oh yeah, and there's this one, the fourth one, I only need to give one sentence to, which is the right one. And that's it. So you got to be on guard and kind of read the whole thing with the fact that he's not trying to do this from an objective, unbiased point of view, explaining what these terms are and their definitions. No, he's denigrating three of them. He's telling you why they're terrible, and then he's selling you one. He's selling you objectivism. He believes it. He thinks that's the way to go. He's not hiding it. He's saying there are rules and principles, and you need to learn them and apply them. That's how morality works. So, yeah, you got to remember, it's a sales pitch as much as anything else. So, keep that in mind. Maybe not a grain of salt, maybe a pound of salt. Maybe that's what you need with this thing. So, but keep that in mind as you're reading the chapter and looking at the concepts, because you're going to want to bring those to the John the paramedic case. Because I'm going to ask you again, is what John did right or wrong? And if so, why? And that gets you right to what's the foundation of if you say what he did was right, why is it right? Because it lines up with a rule or principle? It lines up with your society's values? Because you're the judge of right and wrong and you say it is? Or you say, well, no, John didn't do anything right or wrong because there is no morality. That's emotivism. So, we want to make sure we know what these concepts are, but we also want to make sure that we apply them the right way to the case study. And that's going to be about what's the foundation of your decision. When you say something's right or wrong, what's that based on? What's the standard? What's the touchstone that you're using to know what's good and bad? That takes a little self-reflection. Takes a little thought. So work on that. Like I said, it's Tuesday the 15th. You still got plenty of time between now and Thursday night, midnight, which is when the next essay is due. So read the chapter, take your time, write that essay. Look at the model essays you can see now from the first round. And if you got any questions, of course, let me know. Just send me a message. So that's it. I'll be in touch. Take care. Bye.